This is Paul. Yes. Just looking at these footnotes. In a prosecution for an offense under this section, no state of mind need be proved with respect to the circumstance that the official proceeding before a judge, court, magistrate, grand jury, government agency, before so on and so forth, federal grand jury, federal government agency, that the judge is a judge of the United States, or that the law enforcement officer is an officer, an employee of the federal government, or a person authorized to act for or on behalf of the federal government, serving the federal government as an advisor or consultant. Ooh. Now they gave this case the precedence, yeah, about this person that was informing or was complaining to local authorities, police and sheriff's departments, about drug trafficking, and they didn't do anything, and then somebody decided to blow up a house. Folks, when I inform law enforcement of my civil rights being violated, you decided you didn't have to do anything. Oh, you could just say I was crazy. You didn't have to enforce the RCWs. You didn't have to protect my right to due process. You didn't have to issue court orders according to the Violence Against Women's Act. In fact, the petitioner didn't have to witness the issuance of court orders. Now, when you think of mail fraud, yes, was it really issued according to the requirements that you had personal and subject matter jurisdiction? Now, I know Heidi's in protective custody. Exactly what custody? Ouch! Well, there was some individual named, witness had complained to local authorities, and it looks to me like the result was somebody firebombed the house, or the firebombing the home of a witness. Yes. Now, folks, I know that after 2 million emails, yes, without the acknowledgement of the petitioner, yes, using forgeries, right, child abduction, that you do or don't have to. I have some broken teeth that are irritating me, and I mentioned that I wanted to have oral surgery. Yes, I thought I'd get some new teeth. I brushed my teeth this morning, but I feel like I have bleeding gums. And then there's this, what's this? EEOC versus Arabian is a long-standing principle of American law, that legislation of Congress, unless a contrary intent appears, is meant to apply within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. But they have what's known as the law of nations, code. And the law of nations, I put a review there. Yes. Now, when Heidi planned the abduction of my sons on July 2nd of 2011 from the U.S. territory, yes, and she called the police at 7 a.m., yes, and they arrested me and put me in jail for 10 days, yes, and she ran back here and you issued a protection order. But they issued a do not contact order at the same time. Now, the law of nations and the legislation of the United States Congress, is it contrary to the law of other nations? Because I've emailed a lot of other nations. I went through the constitutions of other nations and constitutional courts of other nations. Now, it would seem to me that every court of every nation that has knowledge of the United States knowingly obstructing justice, I could have some lawsuits there. Ouch! Now, why don't you get me the actual employees of, every judicial branch of every democracy that has a constitution that guarantees the protection of due process? Approximately 170 of them, maybe 160 of them. Yes. Give me the last 60 years of employees of every judicial branch of every nation of the world. Now, I didn't go through all those constitutions and documenting all the due process rights of every individual of all those other nations where you, as the United States, said, well, we can allow for obstruction of justice. We can allow, because it's more than just Canada. Why don't you give me the last 60 years of employees of every judicial branch, of every democracy of the world? Then get me their bank accounts since they were born. Pooch, their library memberships. Ouch! Ouch!